So Praise just passed the Bunnyhop test, and that's pretty amazing because we only started practicing less than 3 hours ago. So here he is before, and here he is 2 hours and 27 minutes later. Dude, I'm actually kind of shocked at how well this has all worked. I found someone who couldn't bunnyhop, and I set a challenge of seeing how fast I could get him to pass a test that would prove his bunnyhop worth if he followed the 4-step process. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how that happened in our outdoor classroom and this outrageously oversized whiteboard that I bought by accident. Learning to bunnyhop can be incredibly difficult and frustrating, and every day thousands of riders around the world put huge amounts of effort into trying to learn. The reason this challenge started is because when I set out to make a how to bunnyhop video, I realized something after doing my usual research. A, I would be in an information coma, and B, I would probably cut out half of the things that you get told to do. Like, number one, I would make sure that I'm not doing the incorrect bunnyhop technique off the bat. Number two, not breaking my brain trying to concentrate
on a million different things at once.
And number three, I would teach anyone the final step in this process a lot sooner to speed up their progress. But let's face it, if I just made a video saying,
"You should consider this method,"
well, it's all just talk, right? So I thought that I'll find someone new and making all the beginner bunnyhop mistakes and teach him how to bunnyhop, document the process, and time it to show you exactly how long it took. Okay, so let's get the timer going to see exactly how long it takes us today.
Science.
Dang it. So in an attempt to help new riders discover a new way of doing things, we're going to start by setting some goals in order to know what we need to achieve. Number one is bike weight. Find a system that works no matter how heavy the bike is. Because they don't know how to leverage their own body weight to get their bike off the ground, and they just end up blaming the weight of the bike. Number two is to make sure that the technique isn't overly complicated so you end up with a million things in your brain while trying to practice. Because this can leave you with technique paralysis. So I came up with the 4-step method to break it down into bite-sized chunks. And number three, to bring the first 2 points together, teach someone new to riding how to pass a bunnyhop test within a day. Because to me, focusing on a few key points to get results straight away is totally achievable. And I'm gonna make the test something that you can try at home as well to see if you can pass it in the same amount of time as Praise. So now, I need to explain the strategy that I would use to get Praise to bunnyhop so fast. And first, that means we have to establish what we're not trying to achieve. So, if you've ever heard people from the sidelines yelling,
"Compress and pull up!"
And pulling up is okay if you have clips, but it relies a hell of a lot on speed. Because most bunnyhop attempts end up
looking like this.
And sadly it's a problem because it's a bad habit. Not only is the bunnyhop limited by the height of your saddle, but you also need maximum amounts of speed to get over the most basic obstacles on the trail. Good bunnyhop technique doesn't just rely on speed. It's about leveraging science to get you and your bike into the air. So before we get into the first step of the process, we need to give ourselves a baseline of where Praise is starting to compare to once we finish all 4 steps of the 4-step process. Okay, Praise, you gotta show us your first bunnyhop. Ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Ready.
Ready!
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've got some of the before, and how did those feel, Praise?
Oh, perfect.
We're gonna see if we can get him to pass the test a little bit later. So, one of the best parts about teaching someone new to bunnyhopping is that they probably already have flat pedals on their bike. Because learning with flat pedals is one of the fundamental parts of learning to bunnyhop. Most people are reluctant to learn on flats after having used clips. But the irony is that the people that have made the transition back to flats in order to progress have boasted some of the best results. But you don't have to take my word for it, because if the name Sam Hill rings a bell, well, flat pedals win medals. World Championship medals. And while I do think that clips are the future, practicing with flat pedals is fundamental to good progression and learning confidence. Whether you're trail riding, dirt jumping, or any other kind of riding, learning skills is best done on flat pedals.
And it might just be a light bulb moment for you later when I show you what your feet are doing to your body on the bike.
Alright, so let's start by dropping Praise's saddle and we can get into the first step of our process. So step 1 of the 4-step process is how to lift the front wheel. So as with the first part of this video, we're not looking to brute force it and just compress down and pull our fork up.
Compress and pull up.
Instead, we're going to throw science at the problem by leveraging mechanics. So ideally, what we're looking for is dropping your chest down, making sure that your chin is above your stem. From this position, we're going to shift our weight back, pulling with straight arms until my hips are behind my rear axle. This is going to leverage and get that front wheel into the air. Make sure to pull with straight arms and avoid tiny T-Rex arms. Okay, so Praise, you're going to go do 20 reps of the front wheel lift, and you and I are going to have a chat as to why. I've taught a bunch of people on how to improve their mountain bike skills, and they often overlook the most basic principle of getting better at anything. So, as an example, why did you pass school? Or not, I guess, but it's because you spent hours and hours and hours doing the same thing over and over again. Nice. And the same thing applies to mountain biking. Spending a specific amount of time doing the same thing over and over, getting your reps in, is the best way to improve at anything. So sometimes it may not be a quick process, but it'll guarantee that you'll progress down the line. So now that Praise, I'm sure, is sick of doing his reps, let's dive into step 2. This bloody whiteboard. So step number 2. Praise, are you nervous?
No.
Okay, you can do the honors. The rear wheel lift. So step 2 is about lifting your rear wheel. But remember earlier when I said how footwork affects your bike control? Let me show you exactly how your body position is affected by your footwork. So a basic test that you can do to see how your footwork affects your body position is stand in a neutral position, drop your heels, and see how your weight shifts over the back. And conversely, if you tilt your toes forward, it shifts your weight over the front. And as luck would have it, that lightens up the back of your bike. Which leads us to step 2. Once your front wheel's at its highest point, you're going to stand your hips up to generate your height. Springing your hips upwards generates height, springing your hips forward does not. At the same time, tilt your toes forward and sweep the back of the bike up underneath you. But full disclaimer, step 2 and 3 go together like peanut butter and jelly. And before we get into step 3, I'm going to send Praise off to go do his reps while I talk to you about something that might just be holding you back. Up like that underneath you, so there, and then they're going to sweep up, right? You're going to get the front wheel up, and then you're going to sweep the back wheel. But we're going to start, and as you should. Going out on your first day after learning to bunny hop and getting over massive obstacles on the trails just isn't going to happen. Personally, it took me the better part of a year before I could roll into stuff on a trail blind and be confident enough that I knew I was going to get over it. So the worst thing that you can do is take the 4-step method and go out and try bunny hop something that's far too big for your skill level and bash your confidence to pieces. There's no get rich quick scheme, and you can do the math. If I had to test Praise on something that was far above his skill level and bash his confidence, it would probably take months before he'd get back to a level that he was comfortable and confident enough to get over it again. Repetition of technique equals confidence, plain and simple. So now, let's look at the jelly to the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Praise, would you do the honors?
Of course. What? How did it get there?
Okay, so let's try that again. What? Apparently the Board of All-Knowing has another plan for us today. And that is that what you might feel like and what you actually look like are two completely different things. So, filming yourself to see what your technique actually looks like is one of the quickest ways to improve. You could be missing one stupidly simple thing to cracking the code, but you might never be able to see what you're doing wrong. Being able to critique your own technique is one of the fastest ways at learning to improve, because you can see glaring issues that you might not be able to feel on the bike. And I'm pretty sure will help bring your bunny hop technique together. Which actually brings us into step 3. Praise, would you do the honors? Drum roll, please. The wrist roll and bar push.
Finally.
Now, it's time for another science lesson, but this time, it's about friction. So, remember in step 2, where we tilted our toes forward to lighten the back of the bike up? Well, for the best chance of getting your back wheel off the ground, you're going to roll your wrist forward, push the handlebar forward. As your toes are tilted forward, this motion is going to be the best to create friction in order to help get that back wheel up underneath you. Alright, so as is tradition, Praise, you can go get your 20 reps in, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why this all means nothing if you don't listen to step 4. Push forward, like that, and you're going to push the bike like that. The bike. The first one, so you go here. Yes. Damn, boy! That was insane. Well done, my bro. Yo. So now that Praise is done with his drills, we've got one more crucial step to look at, and that's step 4. And for the final step, Praise, if you do the honors. Timing. So, doing the right thing at the wrong time will fail over and over again. As an example, if Praise throws a stick and I don't move, that's an example of bad timing. So, ideally, aiming to make sure that your front wheel's at its highest point above the obstacle is the best way to get results. Not a meter before and not a meter after. Otherwise, that could end up in crash and burn. You don't want it here, otherwise your front wheel's going to dip in there. Dude, he is smashing it. Okay, so it has been 2 hours, 27 minutes, and 14 seconds, and I'm pretty sure he's now ready for the first part of the test. Okay, so I'm sure you've seen that there's one more final mystery tag that almost every mountain biker struggles with. And if you want to know what's underneath this little mystery tag and probably holding you back from getting your Bunnyhop right, well, let's have a look. Praise, if you do the honors.
Sure.
Patience. For some reason, when it comes to learning to Bunnyhop, patience doesn't seem to be a virtue. And what I mean is that even if you know all the steps in the world, it doesn't matter if you're trying to do them all at the same time, which often ends up looking like a jumbled up mess like the first part of this video. And you end up setting yourself up for failure. So what we're going to do instead is the following. Only when your front wheel's at its highest point above the obstacle do you worry about step 2, 3, and 4, and not sooner. Noticing that you haven't even completed step 1 and are trying to do 2, 3, and 4 at the same time is often what holds people back from getting this technique right. And I'm pretty sure that when I was starting out, I was 100% guilty of doing the same thing. So, in an ideal world, practicing a little bit of patience to get your Bunnyhop right could be what's holding you back, and making sure that you're doing step 1 first, then 2, then 3, then 4 to get your bike up and over might just get your technique locked in. Okay, now for the test. I've set up the styrofoam box that measures up at 20 centimeters, and for somebody that's just learned to Bunnyhop on their first day, this is a pretty monumental task. Praise, what do you think?
I feel good, yo. Let's give it a shot.
Oi. He just smashed it, dude. Yes, Praise, you biscuit. Well done, dude. Yo, little legend. So I've set this test up for something that you can try at home as well, and let me know if you think you could pass this on your first day of learning to Bunnyhop. So the best advice I have for you when learning to Bunnyhop is don't overcomplicate things. Focus on one thing at a time. And that's why Praise is here, because having someone new and learning and making all the beginner mistakes is probably a little bit easier to relate to. And that's never hit home harder than when I taught a day 1 mountain biker how to wheelie. And if he could do it, you could definitely learn to do it too. So if you want to give yourself the best fighting chance of learning how to wheelie, you need to watch this video right here. Because I use every trick in the book to get him to pass a wheelie test in less than a day, and it's probably the reason I have grey hairs. Praise.
Sure.
Weapon.